This tale lives in the space between myth and memory, history and poetry. It echoes in the works of Homer and Virgil, yet its roots may lie buried beneath the soils of Western Anatolia. Tonight, we drift back, gently and calmly, into the Bronze Age, more than 3,000 years ago, to a world of walled cities, wind-swept coasts, and a constellation of gods who walked alongside mortals. The Trojan War, as we know it today, is not a single story, but rather a tapestry woven from many threads. Poets, historians, and philosophers have each embroidered their own visions, adding heroes, gods, betrayals, and fates. But within these layers of drama and grandeur lies something quieter. The slow rhythms of daily life, the architecture of ancient cities, the rituals and dreams of people long gone. As you rest tonight, we will not simply recount the battles and legends. We will walk softly through the olive groves and palace corridors of Mycenaean kings. We will listen to the hushed voices around Trojan hearths. We will observe the slow unfolding of fate, not with urgency, but with wonder. The story begins not with a war, but with a wedding. Not on a battlefield, but upon the green slopes of Mount Pelion. The gods are gathered. There is music in the air, laughter, wine flowing freely. But amidst this festivity, a small moment, a slight, an insult, will shape the course of history. The spark of the Trojan War lies not in greed or strategy, but in beauty and envy. An apple, golden and inscribed with the words, "To the fairest," a contest between goddesses, a mortal prince asked to judge their beauty. From this, a war will bloom. But before we arrive at those shores, we must first understand the world into which this tale is born. This is the late Bronze Age, roughly 1200 BCE, a time of majestic palaces in Mycenae, Pylos, and Tiryns, Aegean seas speckled with ships, trade routes stretching from Crete to Egypt, from Hattusa to Babylon, writing systems like Linear B recording inventories, offerings, and royal decrees. Kings and warrior chieftains rule fortified cities. Religion is local, yet richly connected with natural forces and deities that may later become part of the Olympian pantheon. Troy, or Ilium, as the Greeks knew it, sits near the narrow straits of the Hellespont, a key point of passage between the Aegean and the Black Sea. This location made it a city of wealth and power, but also a target. Its walls are legendary, built, some say, by gods themselves. Tonight, we will move through the many layers of this myth. We will meet Achilles, son of a sea nymph; Helen, whose beauty is said to launch 1,000 ships; Priam, the dignified king of Troy; Hector, a noble defender; Odysseus, the cunning strategist; and Paris, the prince whose choice changed everything. But we will also pause to visit quieter scenes. The hum of a Greek blacksmith's forge beneath a starlit sky. The scent of crushed herbs in a Trojan healer's garden. The flicker of oil lamps along palace halls. These moments remind us that this story, while heroic, was also deeply human. As we drift together through these ancient memories, let your thoughts settle like dust on stone. There is no rush. Only time unfolding softly across the pages of history. Now, let us begin, at the wedding of the gods. We begin on Mount Pelion, high above the Aegean Sea, where pine trees whisper in the wind and clouds gather like quiet spectators. The gods have descended from Olympus, not in wrath or judgment, but in celebration. A wedding is taking place. Peleus, a mortal hero, is marrying Thetis, a sea nymph whose beauty stirs even the gods. Their union will produce a child, Achilles, but that part of the story still lies ahead, sleeping within fate. For now, the feast is grand. Gold gleams in goblets, music drifts on mountain air, and the immortals laugh in their radiant splendor. All are invited, except one. Eris, the goddess of discord, is not welcome. Her presence, it is said, sours harmony, disrupts peace. Yet Eris comes anyway, slipping among the shadows, quiet and unseen. In her hand, she carries an object, simple but destined to reshape the world. A golden apple, inscribed with 3 words, "To the fairest." With a flick of her wrist, she lets the apple fall. It rolls across polished stone, catching the eyes of 3 goddesses: Hera, queen of the gods; Athena, goddess of wisdom and war; and Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. Each reaches for it. Each believes she deserves it. And thus begins a divine quarrel that no god dares to judge. Instead, they seek a mortal to decide, a shepherd prince of Troy, tending flocks upon the slopes of Mount Ida. His name is Paris. Now we drift eastward across the sea to the ridged hills of the Troad, the land surrounding the city of Troy. Here, Paris lives a quiet life, unaware of his royal birth. Exposed at birth by his father, King Priam, because of a prophecy that he would one day cause Troy's destruction, Paris was rescued and raised by shepherds. He grows tall, handsome, and thoughtful, a prince who does not know he is a prince. When the goddesses arrive, he is stunned. The air trembles with their presence. Each goddess offers him a gift in exchange for the apple. Hera promises kingship, power over all of Asia. Athena offers wisdom and victory in battle, eternal glory as a warrior. Aphrodite speaks softly. She offers love, the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris listens. He weighs each offer, and in the quiet that follows, he hands the apple to Aphrodite. With that decision, the seed of war is sown. For the woman Aphrodite promises him, Helen is already married. She is queen of Sparta, wife of Menelaus. Let us now pause and turn to Helen. Daughter of Zeus and the mortal queen Leda, she is born not of a womb, but of an egg, in a myth that blends beauty with strangeness. Helen is renowned throughout Greece. Poets speak of her as if she is sunlight made flesh. She is intelligent, poised, elusive, and yet she is also a symbol, an object of desire among kings. When she comes of age, suitors from across the Aegean seek her hand. To avoid war, her mortal father Tyndareus makes all the suitors swear an oath, to honor Helen's choice and to defend her husband against any who would take her. She chooses Menelaus. Their palace in Sparta is built of stone, with courtyards lined by fig trees and columns painted in red and ochre. Life there is structured, steady. But the gods, ever watchful, move to fulfill their promise. Paris journeys to Sparta, welcomed as a guest. There he meets Helen. How exactly they fall in love, or if they do at all, is a matter of legend. Some say Aphrodite clouds Helen's mind. Others claim she leaves willingly. Still others argue she is taken by force. Whatever the truth, one morning, Helen and Paris vanish. They sail across the sea, bound for Troy. When Menelaus returns and finds his queen gone, rage stirs within him. But more than rage, an opportunity. He calls upon the oath sworn years ago. Kings from every corner of Greece are summoned to honor their promise. Among them, Agamemnon, king of Mycenae and Menelaus's brother; Odysseus, the clever king of Ithaca; Nestor, the wise old lord of Pylos; Diomedes of Argos; Ajax the Greater, towering and fearless; and others, each bringing ships, swords, and warriors. At the heart of this gathering stands Achilles, the son of Peleus and Thetis, the child born of that divine wedding on Mount Pelion. His mother, fearing for his fate, dips him in the river Styx to grant him invulnerability, save for the spot where she holds him, his heel. Achilles is more than a warrior. He is a force of nature, swift, wrathful, dazzling in battle. Yet he is also young, proud, and bound by complex codes of honor. As we linger here in this gathering of kings, let us observe the preparations. Ships are repaired, oars carved, sails sewn from dyed wool. Horses are fed grains and brushed beneath the sun. Bronze armor gleams in the courtyards. Shields are painted with emblems: lions, serpents, suns. The scent of olive oil and sweat hangs in the air. Old songs are sung, songs of heroes long past. Offerings are made to Poseidon for calm seas, to Apollo for protection. Young men kiss their mothers goodbye. Fathers grip sons' shoulders with wordless pride. 10,000 men prepare to sail across the wine-dark sea. But the winds do not blow. The fleet gathers at Aulis, but the ships cannot launch. The seer Calchas reveals that the goddess Artemis is angry. To appease her, Agamemnon must make a terrible choice. He must sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia. The story here becomes shadowed. Some say Iphigenia is lured to Aulis under false pretenses, told she will marry Achilles. Others claim she goes willingly. In either case, Agamemnon lifts the knife. A hush falls over the army, and then her life is taken, or perhaps not. Some legends whisper that Artemis, moved by pity, replaces her with a deer at the last moment, spiriting Iphigenia away to serve as her priestess in distant lands. Whatever version one believes, the winds rise, the sails fill, the ships depart. As we drift with them across the Aegean, the coast of Troy begins to appear. Low hills, distant towers, and the promise of a long and bitter war. But for now the sea is calm. The sun sets slowly behind the sterns of 1,000 ships, and the world waits. The sea stretches wide and blue beneath a pale sky, and the ships move steadily toward the Anatolian shore. The Greek fleet, vast and varied, is composed of more than 1,000 vessels, each bearing warriors from different regions of the Greek world. Some come from the wooded hills of Thessaly, others from the rocky coasts of Attica, and still more from the islands of the Aegean, their sails adorned with emblems of dolphins and bulls. Each ship carries men who speak slightly different dialects, who worship their gods in local forms, who have never before met, but who are now bound together by an oath and a cause, to retrieve Helen and punish the city that dared to take her. Let us walk softly among the ships as they make landfall. We can imagine the creak of ropes, the splash of anchors, and the sharp scent of salt air. Warriors wade through the surf, stepping onto Trojan soil. Some kiss the earth, others raise their spears in defiance. The land is unfamiliar, dry and golden in the summer heat. Cypress trees sway gently in the breeze. The walls of Troy rise in the distance, formidable and serene, a promise and a challenge. The first contact is confused, clumsy. The Greeks land not directly at Troy, but at a nearby beach, possibly Sigeon or the mouth of the Scamander River. They expect swift victory. But Troy is not a simple target. Its walls are high, built, so it is said, by Poseidon and Apollo during a period of divine punishment. The city is well defended, supplied by allies across the region. The war will not end in days or weeks. It will stretch on for nearly 10 years. Now we turn our gaze toward the city itself. Troy, called Ilion by the Greeks, is a marvel of Bronze Age architecture. Its upper citadel is crowned with stone towers and a great palace, home to King Priam and Queen Hecuba. Below, the lower town sprawls outward, filled with artisans, merchants, scribes, and soldiers. Streets wind past open-air markets, where goods from as far as Egypt and the Levant are traded. Linen, tin, lapis lazuli, oil, and grain. The people of Troy are prosperous and proud. They do not yet know how long the siege will last. At the heart of the city, in the palace, the royal family gathers. Priam, old and dignified, rules with wisdom. He has many sons and daughters, noble figures who will one day populate legend. Among them, Hector, the city's greatest defender, a prince of deep courage and quiet strength. Cassandra, the prophetess cursed to speak truths that no one believes. Paris, whose decision with the golden apple still casts a shadow across the halls. We take a moment to observe the quiet domestic scenes. Hecuba weaving at her loom. Young princes practicing with wooden swords in a courtyard. Priam consulting with elders by lamplight. The city breathes with life and rhythm, unaware that it is slowly being drawn into a tale of tragedy. Back at the Greek encampment, the warriors build their settlement by the sea. Rows of tents appear, grouped by region. Fortifications are raised. Supply lines are organized. The daily life of the soldiers begins to take shape. Let us pause here, in the camp, and watch the rituals of preparation. Fires are lit. Meals are shared. Offerings are made to the gods each morning. Poets sing of home, of lost loves, of distant vineyards. Some men write letters in syllabic script to be sent back by ship. Others polish their weapons or fall into uneasy sleep. Among them walks Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. He is known not for strength, but for his mind, clever, calm, patient. It is Odysseus who first gathered the Greek leaders into alliance. He had tried to avoid the war, feigning madness, but was drawn in by the oath. Now, he walks the shore each evening thinking, watching, listening. His ideas will shape the course of the war to come. Nearby stands Ajax, tall and unshakable. His armor is massive, his shield like a tower. He does not speak often, but when he does, others fall silent. And then there is Achilles, young, radiant, restless. He is not yet the central figure in this war, but his presence is magnetic. He is faster than any other warrior, his armor brighter, his skill unmatched. Beside him stands Patroclus, his dearest companion, gentler, thoughtful, a counterbalance to Achilles' fire. They share a deep bond that defies simple explanation. Their tents are set slightly apart, close to the sea. As the war settles into its first year, the Greeks attempt to breach the walls of Troy, but the effort fails. The Trojans push them back. The Greeks establish a long-term siege. Raids and skirmishes replace pitched battles. Alliances are formed and broken. Ambassadors are sent, parley offered, and refused. In the second and third years, the Greeks sack nearby towns and capture Trojan allies. They take supplies, weapons, and prisoners. Among these is a woman named Briseis, who will one day become the center of a bitter dispute between Achilles and Agamemnon. But for now, she is simply another figure in the vast machinery of war. Inside Troy, the people adapt. Children grow older. Gardens are planted within the city walls. Watchtowers are manned day and night. Life continues in spite of siege. In the quiet of night, torchlight flickers along the ramparts. From the walls, the Trojans can see the glow of Greek campfires stretching like stars across the shore. From the Greek side, the walls of Troy shimmer beneath the moon, silent and unyielding. The war is not yet heroic. It is slow, uncertain, filled with waiting. And yet, in this lull, character is revealed. Hector emerges as the heart of Troy, not merely a warrior, but a father, a brother, a prince who shoulders the weight of his people's hopes. Each morning, he dons his bronze armor, greets the men by name, trains with his soldiers. He does not fight out of pride, but out of duty. His presence is steady, a calm within the storm. Meanwhile, Achilles grows frustrated. He chafes under Agamemnon's authority. Though he leads the fierce Myrmidons, he is not in full command of the army. He wants glory, but not at any cost. He wants respect. Agamemnon, for his part, is a proud and calculating king. He sees the war as a legacy, a mark of his power, his name etched into eternity. But his decisions often alienate those around him. There is tension beneath the surface, waiting to erupt, and so the years pass, not in triumph, but in attrition. Mothers in Greece wait for word from sons long absent. Fathers wonder if their heirs will return. Letters arrive bearing names, sometimes only belongings. Poets begin to shape fragments of the war into verse, even as it still unfolds. But here, within our quiet retelling, there is no rush, no trumpet blast, only the soft unfolding of a story, of a war that is not yet a myth, but a slow, human endeavor. In the 6th and 7th years, new heroes arrive. Penthesilea, queen of the Amazons, fierce and noble, fights for Troy. Later, Memnon, king of Ethiopia and son of the dawn goddess Eos, brings his warriors to aid Priam. The war spreads across cultures and kingdoms, drawing more into its orbit. The Greeks grow weary. Some begin to doubt the cause, others turn to prophecy. The seer Calchas speaks again. The war will not end until Troy is brought down by trickery, not strength. Until the greatest warrior's wrath is kindled. Until certain relics, sacred objects, are stolen from the citadel. But for now, the war continues as a murmur beneath the stars. On both sides, soldiers whisper prayers before sleep. The gods watch, distant and amused. And the story marches onward. 9 years have passed since the Greek ships first landed on the shores of Troy. The initial fire of ambition has cooled into a steady burn. The war, once imagined as swift and glorious, has become a daily rhythm, a life lived in the shadow of the enemy's walls. Let us begin in the Greek camp. It is no longer a temporary settlement. It has become a coastal city of tents and trenches, huts and altars. Soldiers have built homes from driftwood and mud brick. Pens hold goats and chickens. Gardens sprout near the outer ramparts. Blacksmiths hammer bronze weapons beside cooking fires. Children, born in the years of siege, chase dogs through the alleys between tents. Each day begins with ritual, offerings to the gods, inspections by captains, drills under the harsh sun, spears are mended, shields re-oiled. The older warriors recount past battles. The younger ones dream of heroism to come, but monotony weighs heavy. The Greeks grow restless. Boredom becomes as dangerous as arrows. The sea remains their lifeline. Merchant ships bring supplies from the mainland, wine from Nemea, grain from Thessaly, oil from Crete. They also bring news from home, of births, of betrayals, of shifting alliances among the Greek kingdoms. Within this uneasy calm, the relationships among the Greek leaders deepen and fray. Achilles withdraws more and more from public life. He spends long hours walking the shoreline, the surf lapping at his feet. Patroclus often joins him. They speak little, yet their bond is clear. When they return to the camp, Achilles may spar for an hour or two, his movements still blinding, still flawless, before retreating again to solitude. Agamemnon, meanwhile, tightens his authority. He builds more walls, more rules. He suspects dissent among the ranks. His advisors whisper of omens. He demands loyalty and tribute. When he takes Briseis from Achilles, claiming her as a war prize, the insult cuts deep. Achilles, enraged, refuses to fight. He withdraws completely, not just from battle, but from the war itself. The Myrmidons, his elite warriors, follow suit. They remain encamped, silent, their weapons sheathed. This is no minor conflict. Achilles is the Greeks' most powerful warrior. His absence shifts the balance. Skirmishes turn against the Greeks. Morale falters. Some call for negotiation, others call for prophecy. The seer Calchas speaks once more. Troy will fall, but only if the Greeks retrieve the bow of Heracles and bring Achilles back to battle. The path to victory is winding, filled with tasks beyond war. And so the story meanders, as war often does, not from battle to battle, but from decision to delay. Let us now turn our gaze to Troy. Inside the city, life continues. Children have grown into young adults. Couples have married. Fields are still plowed beyond the river, guarded by sentries. Traders sneak in from allied cities, bringing cloth, bronze, and spice. Temples remain active. Priests make offerings to Apollo and Artemis, to Athena and Hera. The people still hope, but they are weary. The war has become a shadow on every wall. Families mourn sons never returned. Women pray longer at shrines. The streets are quieter, the markets more subdued, and yet the city endures. We follow Hector now, Prince of Troy, as he walks through the courtyards of the palace. He greets elders with humility, speaks with soldiers by name. He kisses his wife, Andromache, and lifts his son, Astyanax, high into the air. He is not merely a warrior, he is the soul of the city. Every night he visits the ramparts. The flickering lights of the Greek camp glow faintly across the plain, like distant stars. He watches them without fear, but not without sadness. Andromache urges him not to fight. She has seen the omens. She dreams of his death. But Hector, bound by duty, returns to the field each day. He fights not for glory, but for love, for country, for his father, for his son's future. Elsewhere in the palace, the mood is more troubled. Paris, once so bold, now lives uneasily in the shadow of the war he began. He trains with the bow, yet avoids open battle. Helen, ever graceful, walks the palace gardens, her mind far away. She speaks with Priam, who treats her kindly, as a daughter. She reads tablets from distant lands, listens to music by lamplight, and dreams of a world where her beauty does not bring ruin. Among the towers, Cassandra roams. She warns of destruction, of fire and betrayal, but no one listens. Her voice is calm, her eyes distant, as though she sees through time. Even her family, who love her, cannot fully believe her. And so she walks, a ghost among the living, knowing what must come, unable to stop it. Now let us drift beyond Troy. Across the Aegean, stories of the war spread. Bards sing of the brave Greeks and the noble Trojans. In Mycenae, in Pylos, in Sparta. People gather to hear tales of Hector's courage, of Achilles' wrath, of Helen's beauty. The war has already begun to become legend. In Egypt and Babylon, merchants speak of the siege in hushed tones. Clay tablets record rumors of distant battles. The war at Troy touches distant shores, not through soldiers, but through story. And still, the gods watch. On Mount Olympus, the gods remain invested, some favoring the Greeks, others the Trojans. Athena guides Odysseus in subtle ways. Apollo strengthens Hector. Hera schemes against Paris. Aphrodite protects Helen. Their interventions are quiet, symbolic, and personal, offering dreams, kindling anger, whispering fate. The mortals, however, know little of divine games. They feel only the pull of duty, the weight of longing, the fatigue of waiting. And so the years pass, slowly, tenderly. A soldier sharpens his blade by moonlight, though it has not been used in weeks. A nurse hums a lullaby to a child born behind siege walls. A blacksmith casts a new spearhead, shaped with care, knowing it may never be thrown. This is the true rhythm of war, not noise and clamor, but waiting and wondering. And, now in the 9th year, change begins to stir. A series of raids brings new hostages and new conflicts. The dispute over Briseis leads Achilles to withdraw entirely. The Greeks falter. Embassies are sent to his tent. Odysseus, Phoenix, and Ajax plead with him to return. He listens, quietly, but he refuses. His pride is deep, and his hurt still fresh. This moment, Achilles at his threshold, listening but unmoved, will echo through poetry for millennia. Yet even now, he is not gone. He waits, and the war waits with him. The Trojans begin to push forward. Hector leads a major assault, breaking through the Greek fortifications. The ships are nearly set ablaze. The tide has turned. And then, when hope seems lost, Patroclus dons Achilles' armor and enters the battle. But that, dear listener, is for the next chapter. For now, let us return to the quiet of the camp. The fires flicker, the soldiers sleep. The wind carries the scent of olive oil and ash. A nightingale sings faintly in the fig trees near the Scamander River. Troy still stands. The Greeks still dream. And the story, our story, continues, unfolding gently beneath the stars. The sun rises again over the plains of Troy, golden and calm, indifferent to the turmoil unfolding below. The Greeks stir from sleep, weary from battle, heavy with dread. For in recent days, Hector's forces have pushed further than ever before. The Trojans, emboldened by Achilles' absence, have reached the very edge of the Greek ships. This chapter belongs not to kings, but to friendship. Let us begin in the tent of Achilles. It is quiet here. The Myrmidons maintain their silence, loyal to their commander. Inside, Achilles sits by a low fire. He polishes his armor, though he does not wear it. His expression is unreadable, half in thought, half in memory. Patroclus enters. The two speak quietly. Patroclus, ever gentle, pleads with Achilles. He sees the Greek forces faltering, sees their comrades dying, sees Hector's spear growing bolder. Achilles listens, but remains still. The insult from Agamemnon has wounded him deeply, not in the body but in pride, in honor, and yet Patroclus is not deterred. He asks Achilles for his armor. He proposes a ruse, let him ride into battle dressed as Achilles, that the Trojans may fall back in fear. Achilles hesitates, but love wins. He agrees. He places the shining bronze armor upon his dearest companion. He prays to Zeus for Patroclus's safety, though he knows, deep down, that he has sent him into fate's hands. And so, Patroclus rides. Clad in Achilles' brilliance, he charges into the fray like a blazing star. The Greeks rally. The Trojans fall back. Panic spreads among them. Achilles has returned, they believe, and his rage is terrible. But it is not Achilles. It is Patroclus, noble and brave, yet not a demigod, not invincible. He fights with fury. He kills Sarpedon, the son of Zeus, whose death shakes the heavens. The gods look down, somber, and still Patroclus pushes forward, beyond the limits Achilles had set. And there, at the gates of Troy, he meets Hector. The two clash beneath the high towers, while Apollo guides the moment unseen. Hector's spear finds its mark. Patroclus falls. With his dying breath, he speaks not of himself, but of Achilles. "You will not live long," he tells Hector. "Achilles will come for you." And with that, the breath leaves him. News spreads swiftly. When Achilles learns of Patroclus's death, the sound he makes is not a cry, it is a howl, a wordless, ancient sound, as though all grief has gathered into a single breath. He falls to the ground, he pours ash upon his head. He weeps not as a warrior, but as a man broken by loss. He has lost his other half. The armor has been taken. Hector now wears it as a trophy. The body lies undefended on the battlefield. Achilles rises, trembling with grief and rage. He returns to the war. His wrath, long held back, now flows freely. He calls for new armor, forged not by mortal hands, but by Hephaestus, god of fire and forge. The armor is unlike any ever made, etched with the cosmos, with cities of peace and war, with stars and fields and dancing children. It is not merely armor, it is a vision of the world itself. When Achilles wears it, he becomes more than human. The Greek warriors, seeing him rise again, find new strength. He enters battle like a tempest. The Trojans fall before him. He does not fight for conquest now. He fights for grief, for love, for vengeance. His spear is unstoppable. The Scamander River runs red. And then he finds Hector. The two face one another outside the city walls. Priam and Hecuba watch from above. Andromache does not yet know her husband stands at death's edge. Hector waits. He has put on Achilles' old armor, ironic and tragic. He knows what is coming, but he stands firm. He speaks of duty, of fate, of the gods. Achilles says nothing. They circle each other, once, twice, 3 times. Hector runs, Achilles pursues. At last, Athena intervenes, appearing to Hector in disguise, tricking him into turning and standing his ground. They clash. It is swift. Achilles' spear finds its mark. Hector falls. With his final breath, he begs that his body be returned to his family. Achilles refuses. The rage in him is not yet spent. He binds Hector's ankles to his chariot and drags the body around the walls of Troy. The people watch in horror. The dust rises. The gods turn their faces away. This is not heroism. This is grief, gone too deep. And yet, time softens even the hardest fury. In the days that follow, Achilles cannot sleep. He walks the camp at night. He stares at the stars. He dreams of Patroclus, of his laughter, his voice. He prepares a funeral, a pyre that reaches to the sky. The body of Patroclus is burned with honors, his ashes placed in a golden urn to be mingled with Achilles' own when his time comes. Then, one night, a visitor comes. Old King Priam, father of Hector, guided by Hermes, enters the Greek camp alone. He kneels before Achilles. He kisses the hands that killed his son. He speaks not as a king, but as a father. "Remember your own father," he says. "Have pity." Achilles, moved beyond words, begins to weep. He sees in Priam not an enemy, but a mirror. A man who has lost everything. He returns Hector's body. He orders a truce for the funeral. For a time, the war is forgotten. All of Troy mourns. In this moment, humanity triumphs over vengeance. Achilles, who once burned with wrath, now sits beside his enemy's father, sharing bread, speaking quietly. This, too, is a kind of victory. But his fate draws near. For prophecy has long foretold, if Achilles returns to battle, he will die young, but his name will live forever. And so, he remains. Each morning he sharpens his spear. Each evening he watches the sun vanish behind Troy's walls. He does not speak often. The Myrmidons understand. They remain close, but quiet. He dreams of Patroclus still, and the war, though slowed, presses onward. Let us end this chapter not with thunder, but with reflection. In this story, war is not only death, it is love, twisted by pride. It is friendship, and its loss. It is the terrible beauty of sacrifice. As we drift deeper into the heart of night, let the winds of the Aegean carry us gently. Let the glow of the funeral pyres fade into starlight. Let the rage of Achilles soften into memory. And let us rest, knowing that the greatest warriors are not those who never grieve, but those who feel deeply and carry on. The winds have changed. A stillness settles over the Aegean coast, and with it an eerie calm. The Greeks, after 10 years of war, appear to be vanishing. The tents that once lined the shores are burning. The ships are gone, or so it seems. All that remains is a curious structure, a wooden horse, immense and silent, parked just outside the gates of Troy. The Trojans emerge at dawn, hesitant but hopeful. The Greek camp is empty. The war, they believe, is over. On the plain stands the wooden horse, constructed with uncanny skill. Its flanks rise tall as towers. Its surface gleams with polished pine. Its shape is noble, almost regal. Upon it, a message is carved, an offering to Athena to ensure a safe voyage home. The people of Troy gather. They debate its meaning. Some urge caution. One man, a priest named Laocoon, raises his voice against it. "Beware Greeks bearing gifts," he cries. He hurls a spear at the horse's side. The wood shudders, but nothing happens. And then, ominously, 2 great sea serpents rise from the waves. They slither across the sand and seize Laocoon and his sons, crushing them before dragging their bodies into the sea. The people, terrified, interpret it as a sign. Laocoon had offended the gods. The horse must be sacred. And so, with ropes and pulleys, the Trojans drag the great beast through their gates. They break the walls to do so. The sun sets. Troy fills with song. Torches light the city streets as dancing and wine flow freely. For the first time in years, the people laugh. Children sleep without fear. Priam sits upon his throne, relieved. Cassandra, his daughter, gifted with prophecy but cursed never to be believed, pleads in vain. She knows what waits within the horse, but her warnings are dismissed as madness. That night, Troy sleeps. Above them, in the belly of the wooden horse, hidden among gears and beams, Greek warriors wait in silence. They include Odysseus, Menelaus, Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, and others. They listen to the sounds of celebration below. Then at midnight, a signal. From afar, a small ship approaches. It is Sinon, the Greek left behind to deceive the Trojans, who now lights a beacon. In the distance, the Greek fleet returns, having hidden behind the nearby island of Tenedos. The gates are opened from within. The warriors descend. The city erupts into chaos. Fire spreads across rooftops. Arrows rain down. The Greek army floods through the streets. Surprise has done what 10 years of siege could not. And still, there are moments of bravery. Old Priam dons his armor and stands beside his wife Hecuba in the palace. He is struck down by Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, a brutal echo of the past. Priam dies not as a king, but as a father mourning his son. Andromache clutches her child Astyanax while the Greek soldiers approach. Later, legend tells, the child is thrown from the walls to prevent the rise of future vengeance. Aeneas, cousin of Hector, carries his father Anchises on his back and leads a small band through the burning streets, fleeing into the night. His path will lead to legend and to Rome, but that is another tale. Helen, in the palace, confronts Menelaus. He raises his sword, then lowers it. She is spared. Her beauty, once the spark of war, is now a symbol of endurance. She returns with Menelaus to Sparta, where silence and shame await. Cassandra is dragged from the temple of Athena, clinging to the statue of the goddess. She is taken by Agamemnon as a prize, a prophet, once ignored, now captive. The temple bells toll one final time. By dawn, Troy is ash and rubble. The walls that once defied time and siege are crumbling. The towers are blackened by smoke. The Scamander River flows past a graveyard of dreams. The once proud city lies still. The war is over, but its echoes have only begun. For the Greeks do not return home in peace. Agamemnon sails for Mycenae, where betrayal and blood await. Odysseus will wander for 10 years more, cursed by Poseidon. Ajax, driven mad, takes his own life. The victors are scattered by storms and sorrow. There are no true winners in war, only survivors. Let us pause now and reflect. Troy, immortalized in poetry and memory, fell not because of brute force, but because of a trick. A horse, not a weapon, but an idea, brought the walls down. This is the power of stories, to deceive, to protect, to endure. As we drift through the smoke and silence of that ancient city, let us remember the voices lost in fire, the mothers, the warriors, the children, the poets. Let us walk the ruined streets in our minds, not in horror, but in mourning. And let the night wrap us in quiet. The flickering torches have gone out. The noise has faded. Only the stars remain above the ruins of Troy, unchanged and eternal. Sleep now, dear listener, and let the embers of history warm your dreams. Troy is silent now. The fires have long since burned out. The stones of its once mighty walls are warm under the rising sun. Where shouts of warriors once echoed, there is only the hush of wind through dry grass. Yet even in ruin, Troy does not vanish. It becomes something else, a story, a myth, an inheritance. As we drift from the smoldering ashes of war, we enter the realm of memory. The tale of the Trojan War is not buried with its victims. It is passed down, in poetry, in song, in fragments of pottery and fading manuscripts. The ancient Greeks and those who came after did not forget Troy. They made it eternal. Homer's Iliad, though set in a few weeks of the war's 10th year, becomes a doorway into that distant world. Composed perhaps centuries after the war itself, the Iliad offers more than battles. It offers humanity, It preserves the rage of Achilles, the wisdom of Nestor, the grief of Priam. It makes gods walk among mortals and lets mortals dream of immortality. Yet Homer does not end the story. The Odyssey follows, a tale not of war, but of return. Odysseus, the trickster, wanders for 10 long years after the fall of Troy. He faces monsters, tempests, and temptation. But at its heart, the Odyssey is a tale of longing for home, of trying to rebuild life after the fire. It speaks to all who have endured conflict and seek a place of peace. Elsewhere, in the Roman world, Troy rises again, this time in the Aeneid. Written by Virgil under the Roman Emperor Augustus, the Aeneid traces the journey of Aeneas, the Trojan prince who fled the burning city. Guided by duty, burdened by fate, Aeneas sails west to Italy. There, he becomes the mythic ancestor of the Roman people. In this way, Troy becomes a bridge between Greek and Roman, between East and West, between memory and identity. Its ruins become sacred ground for poets and emperors alike. In later centuries, the legend of Troy travels further still. Medieval Europe embraces it, reimagining the heroes in chivalric form. Knights and kings trace their noble bloodlines to Trojan ancestors. Even in Britain, the mythical founder Brutus is said to descend from Troy, granting the British Isles an ancient pedigree rooted in epic. But was Troy real? That question lingered for thousands of years. Then, in the 19th century, a man named Heinrich Schliemann, a German businessman and amateur archaeologist, believed he had found it. Near the Turkish village of Hisarlik, he dug deep into a hill, uncovering layer upon layer of ancient city ruins. Among them, he declared, was Troy. Today, most archaeologists agree, there was indeed a city here, destroyed and rebuilt many times. One of those layers, around 1200 BCE, shows signs of fire and conflict. Perhaps that was Homer's Troy, or a memory of it. The truth may be lost in the mists of time, but the outline remains. A real city, a real destruction, a real echo. Even now, Troy draws us, not because of its walls or warriors, but because of its questions. What does it mean to be human in the face of divine forces? Can love justify war? Is there nobility in vengeance, or only loss? These are not ancient questions. They are ours. Troy's story endures because it is not simply about the past. It is about what lingers, about how grief, courage, and beauty transcend centuries. Tonight, as we lay in the quiet of our rooms, let us imagine the breeze moving through the ruins of Troy, the marble steps worn smooth by time, the river Scamander still whispering to the sea. Somewhere, perhaps, the shadow of Hector walks the ramparts once more, and the voice of Helen, soft and sorrowful, lingers in the air. The Trojan War has ended, but the tale endures, in every poet's pen, in every longing heart, and now in your dreams.